This event has been curated around the findings of the latest Retail Innovation Report from the researchers at the Business Intelligence Service PSFK. Visit psfk.com to learn how you can download this report with a subscription to PSFK IQ, a library of 400 innovation reports and 150,000 supporting examples and data points. PSFK IQ, where innovators turn for research.
Hey folks, welcome to Retail Innovation Week. Retail Innovation Week 2022 is our series of talks and discussions by my team, by researchers, by our community, where we get to discuss the topics which we think are driving the future of retail. Today, the session's going to be in two parts. We're going to have a part which has a research presentation, and then we'll have an expert panel discussion. For the research presentation, the PSFK team are going to take you through a piece of trends research, and they're really just going to help you think about how to frame the subject. Take it away, folks.
Hi guys, I'm Catherine, a research strategist from PSFK, and I'm so excited to be taking you guys through a virtual store tour of some of New York's best retail destinations: Midtown, Flatiron, Chelsea, and Meatpacking districts. So each year, PSFK develops a New York City retail guide to showcase the best shopping that Manhattan, Brooklyn, Queens, and even New Jersey can offer. It's informed by the latest trends research in the PSFK Future of Retail 2021 report. And this guide offers locals and visitors a fresh, objective overview of the most important stores to visit and experience. This guide also outlines our favorite shops that will help you design tomorrow's best-in-class retail experiences. So for today's virtual store tour, our selected neighborhoods are Midtown, Chelsea, and Meatpacking. Some of the innovative themes that we're going to be looking at across New York City retail are AR and VR in retail, which is really bringing mixed reality experiences that bring stories behind the brands and products to life in fully immersive ways. We're going to be looking at personalization and customization. So retailers are installing in-store personalization stations and kiosks that offer shoppers the opportunity to create their own products and content. So it's creating a more experience-driven purchase that really invites shoppers into the design process. We're also going to be looking at community gathering spaces. Retailers are giving customers a new reason to come into the store, building a community from the ground up and using their physical retail stores as community gathering spaces and offering community events. Another important theme is innovative storytelling. So leading retailers are using their physical stores as a place to showcase their brand's mission and purpose and goals through different interactive experiences, storytelling techniques, and informational displays. We're also going to be looking at hyper-local concept stores. Brands are really curating their stores with the merchandising mix that's tailored to the local consumer. And it's updated on a regular basis with new and emerging brands. Lastly, we're going to be looking at interactive product displays. So retailers are leveraging responsive Internet of Things connected sensors and digital displays and products to automatically trigger contextual media and experiences that augment discovery, selection, and comparison of products. So our first stop will be Midtown Manhattan. And when it comes to world-class shopping, there are few places that rival Midtown Manhattan. Traditionally, Fifth Avenue and the surrounding area symbolized luxury shopping, but now retailers are incorporating new technologies like AR and VR for a more non-traditional shopping experience. Starting off, we're going to look at Nordstrom Home. Nordstrom's NYC flagship recently debuted a concept store called Nordstrom Home. They offer an extensive selection of home goods curated for local New Yorkers and tourists alike. Spanning across 2 floors, the space is designed with a hyper flexible floor plan to allow for Nordstrom to rotate merchandising displays and to continuously provide customers with new experiences and inspiration. So within this layout, Nordstrom is able to position their products and inventory in relatable contexts alongside complementary products and experiences. This layout also helps shoppers envision how the products would fit into their daily lives while creating moments of inspiration and aspiration. From room to room, shoppers will find a mix of home goods from independent small makers, established designers, and local businesses in the New York area. This hyper-local curation offers a merchandising mix that's tailored to the New York consumer and tourists looking for items that they might not be able to find at home. New York-born brands include decor from the MoMA design, a Beverly's shop installation, and furniture designed by Mark Hundley. Cookware brand Great Jones is also making their debut at the Nordstrom Home in their first physical retail experience, which is a multi-floor immersive display with exclusive offerings and limited edition colors. Last but not least, the store features an interactive space that will host a rotating series of consumer activations. While currently all of these activations are virtual, in the future, they do intend to be in person and will include lessons on building tablescapes and chats with cooking influencers and different important people in the field. So also in Midtown Manhattan is the National Hockey League shop. So the National Hockey League and sportswear retailer Fanatics created their 9,000 square foot store to be a multi-sensory experience that's designed to cultivate relationships and foster connection for NHL fans. Outside the store, fans will immediately see the 60 by 80 ice rink in the center of Manhattan West Public Plaza, which will be open from November to April. And it's going to allow for public skating and a host of NHL-based special experiences. The store's long-term goal is to have players and teams visit the site to conduct clinics and hold autograph sessions. Inside, the store offers an exclusive assortment of apparel, merchandise, and on-site jersey and t-shirt customization available for 32 NHL teams. From one of the touchscreens positioned throughout the store, shoppers can select their item to customize and then head to the personalization counter to watch as their item is created. On the second floor, fans will find the Hockey Hall of Fame and memorabilia display. It's a museum dedicated to the sport's history. After visiting the Hall of Fame, visitors can take pictures with their favorite NHL players in an augmented reality photo booth. Current and former NHL players and hockey luminaries will make appearances both in person and virtually via the photo booth. So heading to Times Square is Taco Bell. The fast food restaurant is trialing a digital-only experience that features a specially designed layout for customers on the go. The 10 kiosks replace traditional analog menu boards. This gives guests the opportunity to take ordering into their own hands. Customers have the option to order in advance, online, or on the app. Or they can additionally use one of the self-service kiosks located in the store. A separate double door entrance allows customers to skip the traditional restaurant experience entirely and head directly to the pickup area. There, they can quickly enter their order number on the touchscreen and grab their meal from the designated lockers. This location also comes with a new menu item exclusive to New York called the Bell Apple Freeze. And the store also features limited edition Taco Bell merchandise, including sauce packet keychains, pin sets, and pins available to order also via the digital kiosk. Next, we're heading to Chelsea and the Meatpacking area. These areas are really known for attracting a community of creatives, innovators, and tourists. The Meatpacking district in Chelsea have also been home of exemplary high-end shopping, hotels, contemporary art, and trendy restaurants. Next, we're headed to the Harry Potter store. It's one of New York's most popular retail experiences this past year. With over 21,000 square feet of space and 15 different themed areas, this flagship space houses the world's largest collection of Harry Potter merchandise across 3 different floors. And each respective floor is designed top to bottom to transport visitors into a different part of the Harry Potter universe. Upon arrival, visitors must enter the QR-based virtual queue by scanning the QR code located outside the store's physical location. The store then notifies customers when their entry time is coming up and recommends different areas or different places to visit around the Harry Potter store during the waiting period. This appointment-based technology hints at the upcoming interactive elements at play in the store, and that are accessible through the official Harry Potter fan club app. The appointment-based technology hints at the upcoming interactive elements at play in the store and other elements that are accessible through the Harry Potter fan club app. Throughout the store, fans are able to scan enchanted keys hidden throughout the store to unlock a secret password and gift once they've completed their quest. The app also features an AR-powered journey that takes fans throughout the entire store in its different 15 themed areas, serving as a really savvy way to increase customer dwell time within the store and encourage exploration, while at the same time providing them with a super valuable experience. There are two other separate areas that require either a wait or a ticket: the things which must be named personalization shop, and the two ticketed virtual reality experiences, Chaos at Hogwarts and Wizards Take Flight. The personalization shop allows customers to personalize their wizard robes, Quidditch jerseys, wands, and other Hogwarts merchandise and accessories. And the two ticketed VR attractions bring a sense of what visitors might experience at the different Harry Potter theme parks that are located throughout the world, and serving as a way to cross-sell the extended Harry Potter wizardry world. While shopping, visitors will have abundant photo opportunities and different sensory experiences, like seeing the actual props used in the movies, enjoying butterbeer themed ice creams, chocolate frogs, and other treats that are featured in the series. Lastly, the store employees and floor associates really embody Harry Potter's commitment to the magic of the franchise, just as much as, the official props, themed decorations, and immersive shop within a shops. Okay. So this is Google's first permanent retail store in Chelsea, and it offers a space where customers can learn about Google's ecosystem of products and see how their software can come to life while using them. And also, they offer in-person technical support. The store's facade features dynamic two-sided displays that are called discovery boxes that line the block-line windows. From the outside, pedestrians can interact with the discovery boxes using AR. And from the inside, the display showcases their products behind a custom-made transparent LED screen with changeable overlaying graphics. The first exhibit showcased Google Translate's machine learning capabilities by simultaneously translating visitors' speech into 24 different languages. At the central circular counter with a "Here to Help" sign, Google users can ask the specialized experts for same-day product repairs and assistance with any Google product. What's really interesting about the Google store in Chelsea is the design and the fabrics, colors, and textures are all very similar to their design with their hardware, giving Google product users a sense of familiarity. Another interesting characteristic of the store is the metal line that twists through the block-long room, directing visitors' journey and making loosely defined spaces for the different sandbox experiences. Lastly, what's really interesting about Google Chelsea is that from every single material, from the furniture to the glue in the floors, was carefully selected due to its environmental impact. So it gained a very high sustainability award. So next we're heading deeper into Chelsea, into the beloved Bed Bath & Beyond, which was recently renovated, and today it offers an unrecognizable customer experience to the retailer's past stores. With an improved layout, widened aisles, and lowered sightlines, shoppers can easily see the illuminated signs signaling different sections of the store. Bed Bath & Beyond also reopened with new innovative shop-in-shops, like the La Colombienne coffee bar, an interactive display by the vacuum company Dyson, and a SodaStream bubble bar with an on-site mixologist. What's also really interesting about this Bed Bath & Beyond store is the capability with the mobile app. So users can use the in-store shopping mode and connect the in-person and digital shopping experience for consumers that are on the go. Shoppers can also use the scan and buy feature to bypass checkout lines altogether, or they can use the designated self-checkout lanes. Genesis House is a South Korean automobile manufacturer, and they really celebrate their Korean culture in their automobile showroom and restaurant in New York City's Meatpacking district. So from the ground floor, you can see the automobile showroom, but for visitors in the know, the second floor features a bookstore, event space, and Michelin-starred restaurant. So this is one of the only restaurants in New York City to taste Korean royal cuisine. It's an immersive experience that really shares with its diners the culinary traditions of Korea in the 1300s. Afterwards, guests can visit the floating library or tea house with an open air bookshelf filled with Korean cookbooks, art, and other design-focused texts. The restaurant will also sell ceramics, flatware, and teas used in the restaurant from its very own shop situated in the middle of the dining room. Members-only club Soho House recently launched Soho Home Studio in New York City, a flagship home goods store that offers their full range of furniture, textiles, lighting, and tableware. Each Soho House club is designed to reflect the local surroundings and local members who make it unique. And this Soho Home Studio, lying just a few steps away from the first club in New York City, Soho Home, carries the designs inspired by each of their houses. The space hosts special events and workshops with members and designers like Jen of Future Flowers and Danielle Amirio of Elementary. In addition, the store will also host a rotating exhibition of club members' collections to showcase the works of established and up-and-coming creatives. The studio also features a dedicated consultation area for their upcoming interior design service, where customers can receive advice from the Soho Home team. The services start at about $400 for one room, and with Soho House, Soho Friends, and Soho Home Plus members receiving their initial design consultation at no cost. Last but not least, Soho Home Studio features a made-to-order service where shoppers can browse an extensive swatch library, including linen, velvet, and mohair finishes. So I hope you see how new retail experiences are incorporating these different themes into their physical brick-and-mortar experiences. For more examples and trends, check out our retail guide.
I think you'd agree that was an insightful presentation, and that gave us some great ideas, and again gave us that framework in which to think about the topic and think about how we can activate it. Let's now go to the expert panel. Let's take a look first and see who's speaking.
For our session on New York City retail and the future of store design, we have Sarah Schiller, who is the co-founder of the Swoomu Institute, an iconic 8,000 square foot facility and entertainment center in New York, Soho that is part art exhibit, part art class, and part ultimate interactive playground. You will also hear from Sanam Salek, the co-founder of multidisciplinary New York design studio Mama, and an accomplished rising star within the industry. Melissa Gonzalez is the founder of Lioness Group, an experiential retail and retail strategy agency, and a principal and shareholder at global architecture firm MG2. Also joining us will be Steve Dennis, the president and founder of Sageberry Consulting. For more than 30 years, he's designed profitable growth strategies for dozens of retail, luxury, technology, and social impact brands. Albert Vita is the founder of Homebirds, a home improvement subscription service and next-gen AI technology platform. And finally, we will have Robin Novak, the Director of Strategy and Development at Agar, an experiential agency with its finger on the pulse of cultural relevance. If you're watching live, a number of the speakers will be engaging with the audience using the interactive chat, ask questions and make comments throughout the event. Now, let's join the moderator Lauren Lyons of PSFK to start this session.
So welcome everyone. Our next panel is an exciting mix of retail innovators, design leaders who are all here to discuss latest in experiential retail and then some key themes emerging across the market, both in New York City, but also around the globe. Before we dive in, I kind of want to zoom out here, open up the floor, and have everyone kind of share their thoughts on physical retail in 2022. So what does the in-store experience represent today? And what are some of those different themes that are standing out to you across New York City retail and beyond? So maybe we'll head up with Melissa first, and then we'll see who else wants to jump in here.
Okay, sure. Good morning, everybody. When it comes to physical retail, the question at the top of my mind each day is really, what is the point of the store? And I think that continues to be questioned as we continue to see technology adoption continue to grow. We have all this conversation about metaverse, flexible fulfillment. And so if we think about why stores were created in the first place and what the purpose they serve today, it's vastly different. And so it's really the opportunities that it opens up to be either more experiential, to be more creative about merchandising, to lean into community building, and to be really tactical about integrating technology for the efficiencies that it creates in the in-store environment. And that's really the highest value that consumers are seeing out of it. So how are we really strategic about it? And so that's top of mind this year as we're having conversations with our clients.
And then I wonder, maybe we hear from Steve next. Let's get your thoughts here.
Well, I definitely agree. I think the role of stores has changed a lot, or at least it became much more appreciated during COVID. My experience being in the industry a long time, stores kind of served a singular purpose. They were a place to go, get stuff, pay for it, take it home with you. And now they perform a more diverse and hybrid role for fulfillment, inspiration, et cetera. I think the other thing, which maybe we'll come back to, is I think there's been this real split between what I talk about as buying versus shopping. Buying being more sort of task driven, very convenient. And for the most part, e-commerce is great at that. And so if that was kind of what your store was built for, you're probably in trouble. But certainly there's plenty of companies like Target and the more kind of essential retailers that are more leaning into the buying. When you start to talk about shopping, that's more passion driven, more experiential, I guess, as we like to say. So I think you really have to understand what is it you're trying to do with your store. Is it fulfillment driven? Is it inspiration driven? And all the kind of places in between.
I kind of want to see if anyone else has another point they want to throw in there. Please feel free.
Yeah, I'd like to follow up on what Steve was saying about shopping, because the way that we as Slumu Institute view shopping is really a visitor experience. So we're looking at it from an end-to-end experience that includes, in a sense, if you were really to boil it down, sampling the product and custom making your own product. So as you go through our experience, you're really immersed in our product environment, even though you, in a sense, may not even know it. And I think we were lucky because we started 2 years ago and we were able to, in a sense, leapfrog this idea that you have a product and now you're trying to figure out what the experience is for it. We really designed an experience and the product is seamlessly integrated into it. And for us, that product, we believe we're in the mission of selling joy. So joy through sensory play. And as this pandemic ends and people are looking to really get off their devices, this is the moment for experiential retail to embrace, that tactile nature of getting into a retail store.
I like this distinction between buying and shopping as well. And I think that that's going to play into our conversation really well today.
Lauren, do you mind if I share a quick thought? I think when we start discussing the question around what does in-store experience mean today, it's important to pause. And before we get into the micro question of what is a store and what's the role of a store, just to take a step back and actually look at the ecosystem, at some of the macro issues facing stores today. And there are really four big ones, in my opinion. Supply chain, right? And the supply chain crisis is absolutely going to have an impact on the role of stores and the out of stocks. Inflation, right? And that's another macroeconomic trend that's going to be putting some pressure on prices and what customers are spending at the registers. Omicron, right? And I think that coming out of 2020 and with COVID and our recovery plans, what Omicron has done is really thrown a wrench into a lot of retailers' recovery plans. And really the fourth macro trend is really around labor shortage, right? And so looking at some of the numbers are startling, right? 730,000 retail associates quit their jobs in August. Another 685,000 retail associates quit their job in September. These are staggering numbers. And so I think that as we have a conversation about the role of the store today and in the future, I thought it would be important to get grounded in where we are and where we go from here. Thanks, Lauren.
So as we kind of consider this role of the store, right, we're talking about mixed use spaces, content studios, even co-creation labs. And they're really becoming ways for stores to engage consumers, make these destination worthy. But looking ahead, how are we really seeing retailers and brands further explore this store as almost an entertainment channel for both an in-store shopper, but also someone who might be tuning in from home? And so that's something I wanted to direct maybe towards you, Sanam, if you wanted to join in here.
Yeah, sure. Hi, thanks for having me. Yeah, I think, after kind of we've gone through this type of COVID landscapes, I feel like retailers and brands are basically pulling out all the stops for their stores. We do have to be kind of destination worthy, and I think they're doing it in a few ways. One is I feel like the pop-up, the pop-up method and the idea that things are ever changing is a huge concept that brands are bringing in. So, we have to kind of think about how do we engage the people? How do we keep them always returning and coming into the store? So this idea of things ever changing is a huge model. One example I think that does it really well is the Nike store on Broadway and Prince. I think every month they end up start changing their store, and people are coming back just to see the new fit outs. I think another way is, of course, having kind of experiential activations in store. Something that we did for Ramova on Prince and Mercer is we started this passport photo booth. So people are coming in just to use that as something so they don't have to go to their CVS or their post office to use. And that's always continuously bringing people in. I think another element is this idea of introducing kind of spaces that are multi-use. You're starting to see a lot of brands doing things like coffee shops or record, listening booths, etc. It's almost like becoming like an extension of the home. And I think, Dover Street Market does that really well in New York by having a coffee shop. I think Vanessa Traina, she had this brand called The Line. She has this brand called The Line, and they did this kind of concept pop-up, not even a pop-up, but it was actually a store called The Apartment. So you can kind of go in and it almost feels like an extension of your home to live in, and shop everything in there as well. And I guess as far as doing things from, at home and kind of trying to have customers tune in from home, we came up with some ideas for other brands of having, podcast booths or radio stations within the store so that people can kind of come in and see, people getting interviewed and then also tuning in from homes, things that are live stream. It kind of comes off of the model in New York of, these radio stations that you see, like the Lot Radio, which is in Brooklyn. So it's like a coffee shop bar, but then they also have a radio station there. So I think like these new kind of programmatic elements are going to be really helpful for brands to have people tune in different ways.
Yeah, no, I think it's really important that brands are strategic, but it's also important that there's a filter and then they're very purposeful in the partnerships, right? I think that what you talked about were great examples, but it's just brands need to remember they can't forget the homework. Having something coexist in your space has to make sense. And if you're going to convert those people to then shop your brand, right, they have to be like-minded, they have to have similar values, beliefs, they have to be complementary products, whatever it is, just really important about being purposeful. I think another example that you're seeing happen more and more as from a partnership aspect is just the point of the store also being a point of fulfillment and return. So a lot of brands are partnering with Happy Returns, for example. So it was driving in foot traffic because that was an easy way to return a product. And then hopefully once they're at the destination, they were going to browse and potentially shop now that they have new money back in their pocket.
I want to keep building on this idea of actual activating the in-store, right? So we're seeing other ways retailers are building greeting connection between shoppers in the store through what we're calling augmented merchandising. And you touched a little bit about this too, Sanam, just now, but what we mean there is like having products set up in that livable real life scenarios and settings where consumers are encouraged to demo them like they would at home or in their everyday life. And so I'm wondering, maybe Albert and Steve as well. How are you really seeing like retail integration, consumer adoption of tech like IoT or augmented reality kind of contributing to these ideas? And do you see this playing out any new ways going forward?
Lauren, thanks again. In terms of how I see customers adopting new technologies in stores, there is really no shortage of innovation and technology, whether it's AI or AR, VR or voice. And there's so much change happening in technology. My approach and my thought on it is, because there's so much change, I tend to focus on what's not changing, right? And so what's not changing is that customers want speed, like make it fast, make it easy. How do we get speed? How are we creating value? Value is another pillar to build around and value isn't necessarily just saving me money. It could be time or energy as well. Education. Right? In other words, is this an experience that bolsters and boosts my education? And I don't care if it's an Hermes silk scarf or an Apple iWatch or Lowe's selling a lawnmower, right? There's going to be education that's going to need to be transferred in that store experience. And so now if you stay focused on those pillars that aren't changing, hey, what technologies can help me do this? When in a former life, when I was designing in-store experiences for the Home Depot, a tool that I wanted to share with you and the folks listening is a metric that I called the if to benefit ratio. And this helped me decide which innovations to even put into the store. The idea here is that, let's take VR. Like, if a customer was willing to give 20 minutes, if a customer was willing to put the headset on in the store, if the customer was willing to kind of learn this. So there's all these ifs, right? Well, okay, well then what's the benefit? What did the customer get from that? And it's a quick way to see, guys, if the ifs outweigh the benefits, maybe this isn't even something that's gonna yield some value. But I try to focus on those things that aren't changing, Lauren.
A couple things. Well, one, I guess a couple guiding principles. One is we have to remember no consumer buys technology. And so anytime we're talking about some of these technology things, the question is really, what's the value to the consumer? Does it give me a better story to tell about myself or to friends, or something to share on Instagram, or just something to get off my to-do list? I think we have to be laser focused on the customer journey. And remember, not all customers are the same. So I'll disagree with Albert a little bit. I think speed is hugely important, but there's definitely times when customers want to go slow to ultimately get to where they want to. I don't think you go to the RH gallery because you're trying to get in and out of there quickly. In fact, you may want to stay and go to the restaurant and enjoy the experience. So to me, that just means you've got to really understand the customer. What is it you're trying to achieve? And I think there's three things to focus on. There are the friction points or pain points, and how to use technology to potentially knock those down. What are the table stakes? In other words, those things that you just have to be at parity. 15 years ago, I rolled out, my team rolled out buy online, pick up in store. Return to store. At the time that was pretty groundbreaking. Well, now, that's almost table stakes for most retailers. And then what are those things that really amplify the wow, that really provide that remarkable experience that's going to differentiate you, keep you loyal, share the story of that brand? So I think it's dissecting the customer journey and realizing technology is a means to an end, not the end in itself. But there's plenty of certainly interesting emerging technologies that are going to be game changers going forward.
Yeah, I love this idea of balance, especially going forward with, there's a lot of great tech out there and it's really exciting to see what it can do, but also keeping that consumer value perspective as well. Sarah, I wonder if you want to hop in here as well. I think you might have great points to add.
Yeah, for sure. Touching on what everyone else has said, I think that we are looking at technology from a storytelling perspective because we're building a brand, and it all has to tie back to the brand. And if we're focused on play, one element that we're considering using technology is to create play in the space. So it's really augmenting the experience that they're already having. The second component of that is to deliver education. And I think Albert was right around that. Like we have consumers who are buying a product they've never probably bought before, or definitely haven't made themselves. A lot of our product is around slime. So how are we educating young scientists, right, on what is slime and how does it come together? And technology is a great way to deliver that. But we're also really conscious that we're a family-based experience. So if you have a mom coming in with one phone and 2 kids, you have to be really judicious about what you're putting on a phone, because it's going to end up being worse than what your entire brand was intended to be, which was about joy and passion and coming together. So we're choosing really carefully where we're going to invest. And back to what Melissa said, it's got to align 100% with our brand mission.
So I feel perhaps building on this idea of, like the mixed reality, you have augmented reality, virtual reality being slowly integrated into this like physical shopping experience. And it's certainly driving a new type of experiential retail. So question is, how do you see this kind of moving from simply a marketing event or more of like a social media moment into more of a commerce supported experience? And I think, Melissa, I want to hear from you on this, and then Robin as well. But yeah.
Sure. Yeah, I guess I'll continue on the purposeful comment. And I think that is how it continues to move forward, and not just taking a blanket statement of, augmented reality is cool, virtual reality is cool, metaverse is cool, just throw it on everything. It's got to serve a purpose for the consumer at the end of the day. A couple of things, right? It has to be like natural to their behaviors that they're already doing. And I think with so much adoption of technology through this pandemic, we're getting more validation of that, right? People are using their phone as a remote control more and more to their experiences. And also just having more fluidity with technology. So we're getting some more confidence there. But when it comes to things like augmented reality, for example, there's a lot more proof points that it serves a purpose when it comes to beauty, right? And understanding how color can look on your skin, or virtually painting your nails, or skin analysis with AI. But it's not proving to be as purposeful when it comes to standing in a dressing room and seeing how a shirt could look like on you in augmented reality. The purpose of you going to the store is probably to try that shirt on. So I think it's just really making sure that you're doing the homework of making sure that it's serving a purpose to enhance the experience of the consumer that's coming into the store, that's helping them either have an experience that's reducing friction, is answering some questions and pain points, and is helping them get to a point of making a decision. There's definitely entertainment-based technologies, and I think that always can serve a purpose too. But then again, it depends on what you consider success in the store. So from a brand immersion, storytelling standpoint, right, then that can have a lot of validation in that aspect. So it's doing the homework, to me, that helps continue to move it forward.
Yeah. And I think to build on that, I think, as we think about how this can extend a commerce supported kind of model and experience, I think part of this is just thinking AR and VR cannot just appear in pop-ups or flagships. It can't be a one-time location that's exclusive to a certain group of people. I think brands need to think about this as how they weave these experiences like into the fabric of customers' routines. I think we can take learnings from some of the categories like Melissa had mentioned, the early adopters like Sephora in the beauty category and Home Depot and IKEA in the home category were great at figuring out a way to start to put that in the hands of the consumer when they start their journey and their thinking process at home, and how we extend it then when it happens in stores in multiple platforms, multiple experiences, I think is really important. And I think part of this is looking at how do we teach them the value of these tools as well, like the idea that it's educational, the idea that it can be just the power of wow and experience. And as we think about the routines of these customers, the idea that it's easy to walk past a QR code in a store, or it's easy to walk past an AR thing and think I don't have enough time for it, or a VR tool. But the reality is the more we educate all the customers about the power that these tools have, I think the ability to have greater brand loyalty will innately happen.
And so this kind of perfectly tees up this next question that I wanted to direct at Albert, but then also open to the floor. As far as implementation, right? I want to hear thoughts on what are the gaps that exist right now between these ideas for store design and maybe steps retailers should be thinking about as they're looking to bring them to life for themselves.
Lauren, what a great question. And in my experience, the implementation of the new innovation or the pilot or the technology, that's only half the battle, right? And listening to all of these really insightful comments, there's a part of me that says, how are we measuring? What does success look like, right? The traditional metric of sales per square foot, inventory turn, things like that. How relevant are they in terms of looking ahead for some of the innovative tests? I think that as we take a step back, right, and we say, it's important to note that we as a panel, and certainly the analysts of our industry, it's important to think of retail not as a singular entity, right? And as Steve brought up, I mean, there are so many different slices of retail, buying versus shopping. It's a very important difference, right? And so as you take a step back and you start to think about how are you measuring the success, right? What are those metrics or KPIs that you're using? And then also too, I mean, let's take a step back as well. The reality is that in order to bring to life an innovative test inside a physical store environment isn't always easy, right? The level of cross-functional dependencies and the seamless communication, even intra-retailer that is trying to, between IT and supply chain and .com and store operations and the visual merchandising group, there's so much alignment that has to happen on that side. And I would just say that even the process of developing an innovation funnel, right? Because let's say, for example, that we're deciding even between the infinite choices of possible tests that we can try, there's a lot, right? And so we only have so many chips. And so what are we going to put our chips on? What bets are we going to put our chips on? So I think that measurement is key, thinking through the cross functional dependencies to bring your innovation to life. And then the last thing I would mention, Lauren, is maintenance. Again, that's just one of the things in my world that we ran into a lot, which was all this attention on go live, right? And getting it stood up. But what about 30 days, 60 days, a year after, right? And maintenance. And like in my experience, the maintenance costs, I mean, greatly outweigh potentially even go live. So those are just a couple of gotchas, a couple of pitfalls that for anyone listening that might actually implement some of them to hopefully benefit from some of my own pitfalls.
Certainly think that's a valuable few steps to keep in mind. And I'm just wondering if anyone else here on the panel has similar thoughts that they'd like to share as far as that, how to measure success for retailers going forward with these kind of new technologies they are looking to integrate.
Well,
Sure,
first of all, I agree 100%. I'm sorry, Melissa. I agree 100% with Albert about the maintenance efforts. You know, it's really easy to have laser-like focus on a few locations for a certain amount of time, and then not realize what it takes to keep it going forward, particularly as you get to branch stores, and you know, there's all sorts of complexities there. I think in terms of metrics, you know, and I'm like a broken record on this, you know, we have to not get so focused on the channels. We have to think about the customer as the channel. So there's a lot of metrics where physical stores are really supporting ultimately online sales. You know, if you acquire a customer in store, say at a Warby Parker, maybe they're buying all their subsequent eyeglasses and contact lenses online. So you have to let go of those sales per square foot, comp store sales measures in a lot of cases. So I think it's really this kind of holistic lifetime customer value look that's important. The last thing I'd mention is, because we were talking, you know, the title of this thing involving New York City. I think, you know, there's so much that happens in New York, which is the tip of the spear in what's going to happen in retail, but there's a lot that's not, you know? And so when we think about success, we have to be careful about false positives. You know, Macy's made a huge mistake thinking that Story was there's a lot that went on there, but you know, there's plenty of things that work in New York, or work in New York and work in, you know, Dallas, LA, some other markets that don't scale. So you just have to be very careful in designing your metrics if you test it in a, you know, a very big market like New York or a major metro market, that you're not projecting results that aren't achievable when you go to 10 stores, 100 stores, 500 stores.
Lauren, I wanted to just kind of invert this conversation for a minute, because we've been talking a lot about technology for customers, but as Albert pointed out earlier, the war for talent at the retail level has reached, I think, an extreme. And as a business owner, we are working really hard to hire properly and even harder to train. and then even harder to retain. And I think we have a great reputation when people come. We're known that our staff are unbelievable, and we get really high marks on that. But I think we're actually looking to tap into and invest in technology to help that side of our business. How do we hire better? How do we train better? And how do we retain? And we have a really interesting workforce. We have a neurodiverse workforce, which most small companies don't dare to do, but we've gone there. So we're even thinking about using technology to tap into our really diverse workforce, with the belief that if we're investing in them, obviously it will make happier customers and better guest experience, and then more sales, at the end of that line. But we're looking equally to invest, not just at the guest experience level.
I love that. This is something I wanted to touch on later too. So it's like this idea of introducing tech that's consumer facing, but also how are you supporting your employees and really empowering them to be able to deliver that customer service that is really an expectation now when you enter a store, right? It's so much more heightened. So I don't know if anyone else had thoughts about employee experience, how they're seeing retailers really support their teams in different ways, maybe through technology or just training programs.
I think absolutely. I think it's super critical. The idea that, we at Agar have a founding principle that as the world moves more and more digital, the value of human connection and experience inherently increases. And I think as we think about that in context, exactly what Sarah was just saying, it's all about the human, whether the human is the employee, the human is the customer, we're all humans. And that connectivity is critical. And I think as we think about that, it's important for brands to look at what are those training tools to make sure that that conversation, again, if that brand experience started with somebody Googling something online and now, they've made it into your store, how do you make sure that authenticity and conversation is extended? It's more than just I remember the old books a lot of the retailers would have of like how you greet the customer. It's so much deeper than that today, right? It's not just that hello and that welcome, but it's how you extend that service model, how you care for them. What's that return cycle so that after they leave, that they come back to that path of purchase, and that whether, again, back to the metrics we were just talking about, whether that happens online again, whether that happens in another store experience, whether that happens at a pop-up event, as long as it's continuing to happen in a positive manner and that the training for both the associates and the customers is there, it'll be rewarding and fulfilling for all.
Okay, so I think maybe to round out this session, one of the last things we were curious about learning from you all is there's been a lot of work put in these last 2 years and plus about not only sustainable, but equitable, inclusive initiatives. And we're really, as we consider this idea of mission-based storytelling, who are those retailers and brands that are really making their purpose come to life through in-store experiences, whether that's through design or displays to employee programs that they're really vocal about, consumer programs they're very vocal about, and also just how are retailers thinking, how should they be thinking about that going forward and how that comes to life within their stores. So I want to open this up to everyone because I think you'll all have great opinions, but if anyone would like to sound off, please do.
I'll start. I think just building off the last conversation we had, when we think about sustainability, when we think about inclusivity, it goes back to that center of that human connection. And I think for brands to ultimately embody this ethos, they have to clarify their purpose, like Melissa mentioned at the very beginning of this, and they have to consider the truly actionable ways that they can deliver this in store. And I think it starts with, an overarching message. It has when you think of brands that have purpose-driven missions like public lands and their call to action for in-store experiences, I think it expands for brands that continually demonstrate like authentic narratives in their stories and their product designs like Good Market or Allbirds or Tom's. I think it goes even further when brands demonstrate efficacy and product cycle sustainability, and that they have platforms that they live by, they breathe by at different scales. And that can be everything from like a package-free shop to Patagonia. And I think what's important is the narrative for all of these brands is it starts before that in-store experience with a core human connection and a core purpose and a reason to believe. And then they carry that throughout in their products, their messaging, their service, and their experience.
Absolutely. I agree with you, Robin. consumers today want to believe in more than just the product and service you sell. They're having greater loyalties to brands that are standing behind bigger missions, because and brands that are successfully communicating to consumers that they're also empowering the consumer to be part of that mission, is adding to that loyalty. So you brought up Patagonia, even IKEA, with some of their smaller format, REI, beauty brands like L'Oreal and Revlon, Estee Lauder, they all have these innovation teams. They're standing behind sustainability. They're standing behind diversity initiatives. There's a store in San Francisco by Target called Target Open House. It's all about sustainability, and it's communicating. It's not about being perfect. It's not, you might not get to zero, that's fine, but it's the micro actions that make a difference. And we're going to show you throughout your daily life how you can take those micro actions, and here are the associated products to make it even easier to do so. And so that's the kind of stuff that deepens the relationship with the consumer of there's something deeper to believe in here about what you're doing as a brand or retailer, and we want to be a part of that.
I think what I would add is, I think, I'll go back a little bit to what I said earlier. I think sometimes, when we're shopping and we think about certain retailers, it's really about efficiency. There's no big story. We're not making a soulful connection to Amazon when we order batteries, or something like that. But then there's all these other brands where we really want to be part of that brand story and that they're reflective of us. And I do think, Robin, I think you said this earlier, I think we're in this interesting stage where as more technology comes into play and there's a lot of things that are done for efficiency, we want to figure out how do we add that soul or human connection back into it. And, that is often aligning with people's purposes, whether it's sustainability or social justice causes or whatever it might be. But it also may just be that I'm the sort of person that wants to be have the latest fashion or the latest tech or whatever. So again, I think it really depends. But I think more and more, you can't be in the middle on this. I think you either go strongly for efficiency, robotic AI kind of path, or you really have to build that more remarkable story, that more remarkable connection, and build that soulful purpose into your brand. And when you hem and haw, then that's where you get stuck in no man's land.
And I think, Steve, to build on what you were just saying, you have to be transparent on where you are on that spectrum, because consumers are very smart. They're also, they know, they can see through it. They can see. So that level of transparency, authenticity, approachability, it has to be real in today's landscape.
And Lauren, there's another angle on this, but the idea here is that not to forget how much influence we as retailers have. And thinking about the entire value chain and what gets presented to the customer in that physical store, but we as retailers could change that conversation upstream with the manufacturers, with our suppliers, with our vendors. And if you think about what goes into a physical location, whether it's the merchandise and the packaging, whether it's the fixtures and the digital signage, or even something like the light bulbs, right? And kind of thinking through that physical store as a holistically, right? And being able to exert some of that influence, have some of those conversations further upstream with your vendors and manufacturers around, let's make this a priority together.
Lauren, I do want to kind of toot the horn of SLUMU Institute for a minute, just because I feel for a small and growing company, we've been really authentic about our mission, which is all around inclusivity. So as I said, we have a neurodiverse workforce. We open up this space one day a week for both Title I schools as well as special needs schools, so that children who would never be able to access the experience can come in and leave with the product, because they get to custom make their own slime. We've had letters from special needs schools who say that our space was the first time they'd ever had the entire classroom of children in wheelchairs be able to access in all parts of the experience. And when you're selling slime, I think it's one of those products that just everyone's equal. It doesn't matter where you come from or how much money you make. You're playing and enjoying slime, and at the core of the product is something that allows us to be really inclusive. But we've also said we're going to really walk the walk from day one and work really hard to make that part of our everyday business so that everyone feels that level of authenticity. They know when they walk in, we give a percentage of our proceeds back to mental health charities. So we're trying to cover what we're really focused on, which is inclusivity from beginning to end. We had an employee come up to us the other day who said, I just want you to know, and this gets kind of back to the hiring thing, I found out about you as one of the best places for transgendered people to work. And I didn't believe them, and I showed up, and I love this place, and I'm so happy to work here. And that was really meaningful to us. We kind of said, wow, I think we've done it, right? We've made a big step into really enforcing and bringing to life what we believe in.
That's great feedback. Knows you're like taking the right steps there. So in case there's any other notes that you had prepared, you wanted to share, or ideas around store design you think viewers and listeners need to know going into these next few years.
I had one thought just based off of building a little bit off of what Sarah said, but also how we started the conversation was, are there any themes we're seeing? And I do think, or retail that's happening in New York. And, as I've been thinking about that in context of this conversation, I thought it was interesting as I started to think about some of the reemergence of like the simple pleasures in life that we're seeing with some of the openings in New York. I mean, Krispy Kreme has a flagship, Sour Patch Kids did a store, Harry Potter experiences, it's all over the press and that. And as you take a step back, stores like these appeal to kids of all ages. And then conversely, I was thinking about some of the luxury brands like Saks and their projection and their displays at holiday. Tiffany is reinventing itself with its flagship. And I think when you look across those, it's still a level of fun factor in that, right? Regardless of exclusivity, regardless of entry of product point. And I think as we're coming out of these kind of challenging times, brands can't lose sight of the power of play and just engagement and delight. That's a really easy way back to connecting into the human center of everything. And I think it's something we'll need to see continue on in the retail landscape.
Wonderful. And I think that's like a great note to go out on, unless anyone else has anything else they'd love to contribute. But otherwise, I think we're good with the session.
Hey everyone, I'm Catherine, a research strategist at PSFK. And I'm so excited to be taking you through a virtual store tour of some of New York's best retail destinations, Soho, Noho, and the American Dream Mall. Each year, PSFK develops a New York City retail guide to showcase the best shopping in Manhattan, Brooklyn, Queens, and even New Jersey. It's informed by the latest trends, research in the PSFK Future of Retail 2021 report. And this guide offers locals and visitors a fresh, objective overview of the most important stores to visit and experience. This guide outlines our favorite shops that will help you design tomorrow's best-in-class retail experiences. Today, we're going to be looking at Soho, Noho, and the American Dream Mall located in New Jersey. A few of the themes that we're going to be looking at today in these different areas are innovative flagship experiences. So retailers are creating flagship experiences with multi-purpose designs to accommodate different shoppers' preferences and needs. So from the passive consumer to the fully engaged brand fan and members. We're also going to be looking at retail and entertainment experiences. And retailers are enhancing in-store design with interactive elements and creative settings that encourage customers to interact with products or a brand in a new way, really cultivating an immersive experience while tapping into that emotional mindset. We're also going to be talking about multi-purpose spaces. Retailers are really using their storefronts to build a community from the ground up, and brands are redeploying their storefronts as extended service centers offering community events. We're also going to be talking about luxury and contemporary retail experiences. Luxury brands and retailers are actively communicating with the digital-first consumer on their preferred channels and meeting them with personalized, seamless, and engaging services. We're going to be taking a look at digital shopping, which is how brands and retailers are increasingly meeting consumers beyond the store with mobile-friendly activations. They're layering mobile activated purchase moments into the window displays, pop-up locations, and even murals, turning the on-the-go moments into shoppable occasions. And lastly, we're going to be looking at in-context marketing. So instead of buying products off the shelves, retailers are inviting customers to shop directly from the retail experiences that manifest inspirational environments and lifestyles. So reducing the creative work between inspiration and realization. Our first stop on today's store tour is the Soho and Noho area. These are two of New York's greatest shopping destinations and have continuously served as a valuable source of retail innovation and inspiration. As companies from all over the world look for a competitive edge to revitalize their retail footprint, there's no better area to learn from. So starting off with Parade. Parade is an inclusively sized and affordably priced underwear brand. They chose the Soho neighborhood for their first brick-and-mortar debut. The brand's physical embodiment makes a bold artistic statement by greeting visitors with a rainbow archway lined with matching and clothingless mannequins. Inside the retail section of the store, the merchandise is staged in a shoppable yet highly decorative way, using color as the defining characteristic. Shoppers can pop into the life-size circus tent to win a free mystery prize using the claw machine and enjoy a sweet treat from the cotton candy machine. Next up, we're going to be looking at Saks Works. Department store Saks Fifth Avenue entered into a co-working space with the launch of Saks Works. Teaming up with the co-working company WeWork, Saks converted some of their retail stores' space into luxury co-working office spaces. For $299 a month, members can enjoy amenities like a Body Squad stretching studio, Baltazar pastries, events, and cafes within the co-working space. Some of the highlights of Saks Works include the hydroponic gardens, where members can receive bundles of produce when they are ready to be picked, movable furniture creating a modular interior, art-lined walls, phone booths, and conference rooms designed by the office pod company Room. Next, we're going to look at Ready, which is Petco's lifestyle brand, which is focused on appealing to millennial dog parents. The dog-friendly boutique offers an experiential retail experience, both for the pet and the pet owner. Shoppers can peruse the vast collection of stylish and sustainable premium dog clothes and try them on their furry friend at the fitting station. The pet supply store offers custom services like personalized pet tags, on-site product monogramming, and phone charging stations at the customization table. In the lounge area with free Wi-Fi, pet owners can treat their pups to complimentary amenities such as free water stations and a treatery which serves free whipped ice cream cups. One wall of the store is dedicated to the Just Food for Dogs nutrition station. It's offering a range of high-quality dog foods and treats formulated specifically for different nutritional needs and supplements to boost pets' health. Up next, we're heading to Health Quarters. Health Quarters brings together leading independent practitioners, doctors from the Mount Sinai Hospital System, and innovative health and wellness brands, all under one roof. The all-in-one headquarters for medical and wellness services features medical and dental exam rooms, an entry lounge, a physical therapy studio, spa-like wellness treatment rooms, and more. The flagship medical center resembles nothing of a typical doctor office, and instead, Health Quarters blended warm colors, comfortable seating, and biophilic design that really creates a patient-first, calming, and welcoming healthcare experience. Their retail space offers a selection of forward-thinking, scientifically validated, and doctor-endorsed health and wellness products. Next up, we're heading to Lelo. The modern children's retailer chose Noho for its first ever flagship store, where parents and children alike can shop Lelo's products in an immersive setting that emulates a modern family home. Called Lelo Land, the New York store allows customers to experience Lelo's products in person, whether it be in the living room, in the play cafe, the stroller parking lot, or the nursing nook. The store was designed for new parents, and so the flagship offers appointments with Lelo product experts for parents to ask about the safety, the durability, and the timeliness of their products, which can really help those first-time parents feel confident and in their purchases for their little ones. Parents can also enjoy many in-store activations and events with brand partners including Union Square Play, Babylist, Coterie, Banza, and Canopy. Just a short trip from New York and New Jersey lies the mall that truly has it all. The American Dream Mall has amusement park rides, mini golf courses, water parks, indoor ski slopes, skating rinks, and over 400 luxury and contemporary retailers, museums, and over 150 dining options. The American Dream Mall was developed by shopping center specialist 555 Group, and it's redefining the mall experience, combining fantasy, fashion, food, and family excursions into a single experience. So while over 70% of the American Dream Mall is dedicated to entertainment, the Avenue adds luxury retail to the 30% of retailer space. Opened in 2021, the Avenue is a luxury shopping experience featuring many of the world's premier luxury brands, including the world's largest Hermes store, Tiffany & Co., Dolce & Gabbana, Jonathan Adler, and New Jersey's only Saks Fifth Avenue department store. Lining the halls of the Avenue are the interior designer Jonathan Adler's blow-ups of his signature pottery faces topped with topiary. The luxury ring will also have high-end restaurants like Capaccio, a champagne bar, and VIP parking and special events as the Avenue seeks to be a retail destination for New Yorkers and New Jersey dwellers alike. The American animation company's DreamWorks, which is the largest indoor water park in North America. The record-breaking attraction features a 1.6 million gallon heated indoor wave pool, multiple rides, slides, and a wave pool for indoor surfing as well. Interior decorator Jonathan Adler also designed private skybox suites and poolside cabanas for parents to lounge while their children explore the movie-themed water park. And with a year-round temperature of 81 degrees Fahrenheit, the DreamWorks water park offers a year-round escape to a tropical simulation. Next up, we're headed to Tilt, which is one of American Dream's many museums, and this one is by the American artist Tracy Lee Stum. It's an interactive 3D museum of anamorphic art. The life-size murals create mind-bending optical illusions that give the impressions of 3D space on flat, hand-painted surfaces by the artist. One of the murals, the Statue of Liberty, allows visitors to give the illusion that they're ascending to the top, as you can see here, of the crown on a rope. The interactive space there also encourages plenty of Instagrammable shots, and the Art Hub will also host workshops and special events. So I hope you could see how some of these different themes are incorporated throughout these store examples. And if you want more, check out our retail guide.
Well, I think you'd agree that was super exciting. Thanks to everybody for joining. Thank you to the speakers for being part of that. Thanks to the PSFK team for moderating and presenting. And thanks for all the comments made in the forum. And we're excited to have had you here today. And we have new events coming up very soon. And I hope you can join us for those events too. From Piers Fawkes, founder of Retail Innovation Week, I appreciate your time today. Thank you. Until next time.
This event has been curated around the findings of the latest retail innovation report from the researchers at the Business Intelligence Service PSFK. Visit PSFK.com to learn how you can download this report with a subscription to PSFK IQ, a library of 400 innovation reports and 150,000 supporting examples and data points. PSFK IQ, where innovators turn for research.